Welcome to Enigma Chronicles, where we delve into the darkest corners of human experience. I'm your host, and tonight we're taking a journey down some of the most terrifying roads you can imagine. Buckle up, because these 3 true night drive horror stories might just make you think twice about hitting the road after dark. You know, there's something about driving at night that already puts us on edge. The darkness pressing in from all sides, the limited visibility, the strange shadows that flicker at the edge of your headlights. It's as if the world shrinks down to just you, your car, and whatever might be lurking out there in the blackness. But for some unfortunate souls, those fears become all too real. Our first story takes us to a lonely stretch of highway in rural Montana. Sarah, a 28-year-old nurse, was driving home after a late shift at the hospital. It was around 2 a.m. and the road was completely deserted. As she rounded a bend, her headlights swept across something that made her blood run cold. There, in the middle of the road, was a child's tricycle. Sarah slammed on the brakes, her heart pounding. What was a kid's toy doing out here in the middle of nowhere? And more importantly, where was the child it belonged to? She sat there for a moment, debating what to do. The responsible thing would be to get out and check, right? But something in her gut was screaming at her to stay in the car. Just as she was about to reach for the door handle, movement caught her eye. From the darkness at the side of the road, a figure emerged. It was tall, much too tall to be a child, and it was walking with an unnatural, jerky gait. Sarah's blood turned to ice as the figure stepped into the beam of her headlights. It wasn't human. The face was twisted and distorted, with eyes that glowed an eerie yellow in the light. Without thinking, Sarah slammed her foot on the gas pedal. The tires screeched as she swerved around the tricycle, her eyes locked on the rearview mirror. The creature, whatever it was, had started to run after her car. Its movements were impossibly fast, more like a spider than a person. Sarah didn't slow down until she reached the town limits, and she didn't sleep for days afterward. If that story made your skin crawl, you might want to hold on to something for our next tale. It comes from Jake, a long-haul trucker with over 20 years of experience on the road. Jake thought he'd seen it all until one foggy night on a back road in Louisiana. He was running behind schedule and decided to take a shortcut through the bayou. The fog was so thick he could barely see past the hood of his truck. Suddenly, his CB radio crackled to life. Through the static, he heard a woman's voice, pleading for help. She said her car had broken down and she was stranded. Jake's first instinct was to help, but something about the situation felt off. The voice on the radio kept getting clearer, then fading out, as if the person was moving. But how could that be if they were stranded? Against his better judgment, Jake decided to stop and investigate. As he slowed his truck, the fog seemed to part for just a moment. What Jake saw made him question his sanity. There, in the swamp beside the road, were dozens of vehicles, cars, trucks, even a few motorcycles, all half submerged in the murky water. And moving between them, barely visible in the mist, were shapes, human-like but wrong somehow. Too tall, too thin, with limbs that bent at impossible angles. Jake didn't wait to see more. He floored it, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst out of his chest. As he sped away, he could have sworn he heard laughter on the radio, mixed with the static. To this day, Jake refuses to drive that route, no matter how behind schedule he might be. Now, if you're still with us after those 2 hair-raising tales, brace yourself for our final story. This one comes from a couple, Mark and Lisa, who were on a cross-country road trip to celebrate their anniversary. They were driving through Nevada, miles from the nearest town, when their car started making strange noises. Mark pulled over to check it out, but he couldn't find anything obviously wrong. As they debated whether to keep going or call for help, they noticed something strange. The stars, which had been clearly visible moments before, were disappearing. It was as if a blanket of darkness was slowly covering the sky. Then they heard it. A low, pulsing hum that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The air around them began to vibrate, and the car's electronics went haywire. The radio turned on by itself, cycling through stations at lightning speed. The headlights flickered and died. In the pitch blackness, Mark and Lisa clung to each other, terrified. The humming grew louder, and they felt a pressure in their ears, like being deep underwater. Then, as suddenly as it had started, it stopped. The stars reappeared, and the car's systems returned to normal. But something had changed. When they checked their phones, they realized that 6 hours had passed, though it had felt like only minutes. And there, on the hood of their car, was a strange, iridescent substance that seemed to shift and move when they looked at it directly. Mark and Lisa never spoke publicly about what happened that night, but friends say they were never the same afterward. They became obsessed with the stars, spending nights out in the desert with telescopes. And sometimes, when they thought no one was listening, they would talk about the others and the return. These stories, my friends, are just a glimpse into the terrifying experiences that can unfold on dark, lonely roads. They remind us that sometimes the real horrors aren't the ones we imagine lurking in the shadows, but the ones that are actually out there, waiting for unsuspecting travelers. Before you go, I have a question for you. Have you ever experienced something unexplainable during a night drive? Something that made you question reality, or left you looking over your shoulder long after you got home? If you dare, share your story in the comments below. Your experience might just become the subject of our next episode. And if these tales have left you hungry for more chilling content, why not hit that subscribe button? Join our community of thrill seekers and skeptics as we explore the unexplained, the paranormal, and the downright terrifying. Remember, on Enigma Chronicles, we don't just tell stories, we uncover the truth behind the mysteries that haunt our world. Until next time, keep your eyes on the road, your doors locked, and remember, not everything that walks in the night is human. Sleep tight, if you can.